2, 3.
Cause I'ma dig deep, I'ma stand tall. I got the grit of the underdog. I'm stronger than you think, I can do this on my own. There's a difference between loneliness and doing this alone.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Capital Group Collective presents DC Music Rock podcast. So this is the DC Music Rocks podcast presented by Capital Group Collective, elevating the sound of the DMV to the world stage one conversation at a time. Here we will highlight the wildly talented DMV musicians that we believe are paving the way in the Washington metropolitan area through diversity of genre, gender, identity, and community. Today we have a group of awesome individuals for you. They're called Knovo Music. Knovo is a DC-based band that delivers a dreamy blend of indie, jazz, psych rock, which aims for both the mind and soul. The group's collective influences yield a sound that is melodic yet distressed, retro yet new, and above all, full of light and energy. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey, so can you each tell us your name and introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure, we'll go first.
Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Jenna Fotiadis, and I am the keyboard player.
I'm TJ. I'm the bass player. TJ Turkman, if you need a last.
I'm Tula. I'm the singer.
I'm Matt, and I play drums.
I'm Nick. I play guitar.
Okay, we have the full band here. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
And Happy New Year. We're
Happy New
only
Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
a couple days in, you know? Woohoo! Okay, so tell me the story of your band. Like, how did you all meet?
So this is Jenna here. So we all met through a network of musicians in the DMV. We've all been playing together for a while. So me and TJ are married. So we're a couple together.
You are?
Yeah.
You're in the same
How
room
could
next
you
to
not
each other.
know?
Yeah, being together in COVID, you can tell
so
we
that's
have
how-
to be married.
So TJ and I actually met in music school at George Mason. And
awesome.
then we've all sort of been playing together and or playing with each other's friends in a while. So TJ and our drummer Matt has been playing in another band for a long time. Me and Nick met at a rehearsal at our house a couple of years ago. Me and Tula, we met years ago as well. So it sort of just came together, and TJ and I wanted to start a band that was our own project. We've been part of several original projects over the years and helping others write music and stuff. And TJ and I just thought, you know what, we want to try go at this ourselves and be more in control of the music and all that stuff. And so we first reached out to Tula, and then it was the three of us, singer, keys, bass, and then we reached out to Nick. And then we reached out to Matt, and there was the band. So
I think Nick kind of just was like there, right time, right place, right?
Yeah, it was. Nick was actually at our house for another rehearsal for another band. And then when he heard Tula was coming over later on that day, he said, "Oh, can I just stay?"
Oh, hello.
I was like,
there.
really lucky.
I already had my stuff set up. I was like, should I just stay here? And Jenna was like, yeah, I guess that's cool. and then we actually played it. It sounded good, and like the songs were like the rough demos that I had heard that they had recorded were like really good, and I was like, this is really good. So I'm just gonna stay.
And I'm gonna jump ship, you said.
Yeah.
We're so glad you did.
Yeah, and then Matt, when did Matt get pulled in? When did that happen?
Where did you come from, Matt?
Yeah.
Well, I played in a band with TJ, and then I think we were at Separate one night on a gig. He's like, dude, you should totally, come play with this band. I was like, okay, So they sent me the tunes, and I loved it right from the beginning. It was awesome.
Yeah. And since our tunes are all over the place, Matt kind of showed up and like played through the songs really well, and so did Nick. And it was kind of just whoever wanted to, go on this roller coaster, and everybody sort of said, let's do it.
So can I join as a second singer?
Totally.
Right.
You guys are all casual about it, like,
Right. 40%.
Well, that's awesome. So it seems like you guys joined because you appreciated each other's music and each other's talent, which is so organic and awesome. Instead of like, we need like a person that looks like that and sounds like that. Can you be that? You know,
Yeah.
this is
Right.
kind of like you already appreciate each other's like natural
Yeah,
talent.
Knovo is definitely a labor of love. The
Mhm.
goal was always to keep the music first and keep it the way that everybody wanted to most musically represent ourselves. I mean, we all do other types of gigs that are awesome and fun, but there can be a little bit more for utility and less for music sometimes, you know? And so Knovo was like the exact opposite of that. It was like, let's take our time writing the music, let's make this the way we really want it, and kind of have an original project like that. The challenge, of course, is finding that organic relationship between all the band members such that, you know, everybody is happy to give the time because it is a lot of work, you know.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's
So
great.
yeah, I was gonna ask you that. You partially answered the question. Is like, what are the challenges of being in a band, and also what are the awesome things that come from being in a band and in a group?
So I'd say the biggest challenge of being in a group is decision making. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
I think that's fair. I think we have a good kind of blend of democracy, but also like Jen and TJ said, like they're the band leader, so ultimately like they're gonna make the final decision. But the chemistry of the group is such, I feel like we haven't had any like knockdown, drag down fights. Like we've had like moments of frustration with each other, but everebody just kind of gets along and like we're all kind of on the same
Don't
page.
worry,
So
it'll happen one day.
One day,
Oh.
one day we'll get into a
Just
band
wait
fight.
for it.
did I just jinx us? You're not going to.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I think it's sort of an extension of like we're all on the same page, which bands that I've been in that have had issues, people are not on the same page. People have different expectations for what the project is. People have different expectations for like what their role in the project is, and it's like we all kind of like are in it together and understand it together. And like there's just been, because of that, I think there's been like very minimal like friction and stuff like that you might have with another type of band.
If anything, we just agree with each other like too much. Like sometimes, like, you know,
Are you
hey, what do you
sure?
guys think about it? This, and it's like everyone's like, I don't want to, you know, shake the boat, and it's like,
I don't think that's true. I feel like we speak up if we have.
See, there you go.
see, it's our first confrontation.
Now, yes, on air.
How much?
I'm gonna end this podcast by breaking up in the middle of the podcast.
Okay, so see, we're awesome.
No, yeah, I think the biggest challenge, because sometimes, like, you know, we do this or should we do that? And everybody's like, I don't know, I could do either. And it's like, okay, well, which one do we choose? That's
Right, we have to make a
that's
decision.
the hard one.
Yeah.
That's a good problem to have, though.
And yeah, and then it's just a lot of work pushing an original band. You have to write the music. You have to arrange the music. You have to perform the music. You have to record the music. You got to figure out how you're going to promote the music. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And so how do we divide that up? Like who's good at what, you know, in terms of just all that division of labor. And so that's, you know, but that's with anything.
It takes
you know?
takes a village. What's that saying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's it.
that is the saying.
That's true though. I feel like
so
we
what is-
divided and conquered pretty well.
So what is your band's music style, you would say? I kind of gave a little intro of it, but you know, hear from your words.
The you know, there was an article that came out about us. I think it was All Chemicals Records
Chemical
or
Records?
something.
Uh-huh.
And they categorized us as dreamy, jazzy synth rock. And we kind of agree with that. So
Yeah.
I would say if we had to put it in 4 words, it would be that.
Very cool. And that's like, that's not, you know, that's not very common.
No.
And that's why you're doing it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. It's hard to categorize or genreize us to a degree.
It is.
So we've struggled with it, but I think we're honing in on it now, 3 years in.
Yeah, I think jazzy synth rock, and even in 3 words, makes sense.
There we go.
We're jazz influenced, but we do have sort of rock elements, and then there's definitely a competing, you know, mix of like sort of very real sounds and authentic sounding sounds versus like the synthesized sounds or the, like, you know, the sort of stacked vocal sounds, especially in the recordings and stuff like that make it kind of.
And dance. I would say dance aspect too.
And we do have a lot of dance aspect too. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, you have to include that. I mean, that's the beauty of being, I guess, independent musicians, is that you don't have somebody telling you exactly what you need to be. Because I have the same problem. Like when people ask me what genre like of a singer I am or what music I write, I'm like, everything.
I know.
Because you want to experiment. You don't want to just put out what's already out there. You know, all the mainstream stuff, they're awesome in their own way, but you know, you don't want to just put out what's already out there. So
Yeah.
what you put out is just what's not out there. So it's harder
Yeah.
to describe, you know?
Yeah. We put out some weird stuff, I think.
Also, it's
I
hard to
love weird.
describe in the present. You know what I mean? So I think that looking back, it's easier to categorize your original music, like to say, oh yeah, this was that genre. But when you're in the midst of creating it, and the songs are kind of always constantly evolving, it can be hard to pin it down when there are so many influences in the music. When you set out to do something, you know, more original, you know, it's not like Knovo set out to be a funk band, for example. Those are funky elements to what we do, you know. So
at the same time, though, sorry to interrupt, that we also we like, I think also in other bands, at least that Jen and I have been, we've been in bands where we do too many things in every song. And I think also Knovo is kind of an interesting mix of having a lot of stuff, but also keeping it succinct enough where you get an idea from the song, where it's trying to come from as a genre, or what the main idea of the song is, instead of just like, here's a 7-minute song where it changes 20 times. Right. You know, that's been, when you write weird music, it can be an easy tendency to do that, to just make it like not coherent. And I think Knovo does a good way of making it more coherent than just all over the place, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just so we don't, you know, sound like we have no idea what we're writing. We do have some idea what we're writing.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good.
My messenger is like,
it's okay.
Anyways,
it's part of the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So what do you want the audience to get out of listening to your music? I think Matt would say like you want them to dance. But like what are you trying to communicate to the audience? Like what do you want the listener to get out of your music?
Great question.
Well, I think at least one small aspect, what I maybe just kind of mentioned was, you know, we have a lot of complexity in our music, but we're also at the same time trying to get people to, you know, remember it after we play it, or be able to dance to it at the same time. So I don't know, Nick, were you good? I think you had a good answer for that, right? Or something?
We were talking earlier, we had talked about like the sort of element of surprise. One of our friends said that we were very sneaky. That our music was very sneaky, and I think that's I like that that sort of descriptor, because it's like, you know, like you sort of have an image of like what you think a band's going to sound like. They could be setting up, and you see them, and you're like, okay, I can kind of peg what these guys are going to sound like, and kind of like the fact that whenever we play, I think we're, especially for people who've never seen us before, they're genuinely like, wow, I was not expecting that. You know?
Yeah.
I love that.
That's
true.
Awesome.
Awesome. I mean, why would people want to go to, I mean, some people, I guess, they go to a band, like watch a band or a musician perform, like knowing what they're going to hear and expecting certain things. But I personally like to be surprised, because, you know, sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, they're like this kind of band. All right, I know it's not going to get me moving. And then they play a song and I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I like that. So that's awesome.
I think that's what we strive for sure. I mean, all of our songs are different. Like, we have some ones that are kind of just like boppy and like groovy, and then we have some ones that get like really heavy, which are my favorite, which is funny because I have like quiet, like kind of jazzy voice, but like I love when the band gets like really heavy, and like TJ writes some really cool, like kind of like industrial rock sounding stuff. So I feel like that's kind of, you know, a lot of different kind of styles that we will play live for sure.
That's awesome. So from the sound of it, you guys write your own music. What is your writing process? Is it like, you know, one person writes something, pass it on to the next person, pass it on to the next person, or it's like you guys have Zoom calls and like write together? Like, how does that work?
Well, when we were able to rehearse, which again, you know, during COVID, everything's different now. When we start the process, it's generally, I would say, I make what I call skeleton of a song, either on GarageBand, on my phone actually, or a loop station, a thing that I can record over myself. And I'll usually have a general idea about the groove, the chord changes and the melody. But once I have those down, and I used to be very specific about it, but now that I've done this a lot with this group, it's kind of, I put out a general vibe, and then really what happens is once there is this like recording with, it's really just with in MIDI. I don't know if you know what MIDI is, but it's just this kind of, I don't want to say cheesy, but like
Video
basic
game.
recording of it. And then when we actually bring it in to arrange it, everybody puts in their input about the how to bring it into real life, basically, instead of just when I wrote it either on the computer or on my phone or anything. And then once we do the arranging, you know, everybody's more or less responsible for their part, trying to make it sound real and good on their instrument.
Right.
And then, you know, as far as any other processes, I mean, for lyrics, I don't do anything with that. That's all Tula. And the harmonies is a lot of vocals is Tula's stuff. I mean, a lot of, you know, it's like, I don't play drums or guitar or synth. So everybody translates this to a better version a lot of times of what it was. And then we kind of just workshop that. And if the weird idea that I've proposed for what this song is ends up being okay, then we keep going with it. And a lot of times I'm surprised how everyone can translate that so well. Because I'll come with the song, I'll be like, this is really weird. I don't know. Is this going to sound okay? Is this going to be awful? You know, there's, when you're exposing a beginning of a song, a lot of times it's very exposing, you know, because people might be like, yeah, I don't know about that, you know, like right off the bat,
cool, man, it's cool.
Yeah, you know, so, but everybody's like really accepting of weird shit in this band. So, and I think that's kind of the deal too, is like, you know, let's be original and weird. And, you know, we have that's kind of our system really, is skeleton. We all share it. We all do our thing, and make it like sound like Knovo after that.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, it's about keeping like open mind, and not judge something like right away. Maybe play around with it, and then if it's like, boy, I cannot do anything with this, that's when you're like rejected, kind of. But if you can do something with it, you know, it seems like everybody's very open-minded to just experiment. And
a lot of times, like any band member will be like, you know, a lot of times what happens is I'll say, hey, here's this like whole thing, and someone might be like, can we just try just this? And then it'll translate more of maybe what the better idea of the song is, just by simplifying stuff, or just by you know, making it more streamlined. So
gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, part of the thing that arranging with this band is fun, I think, because like TJ comes up with these structures that are very oftentimes like odd time signatures and sort of the things that you wouldn't expect of like a pop song, for example. But as part of the arranging process, we apply the sort of normal, sort of conventional song structure format to it, and we make the sort of strange stuff like fit into that song structure a lot of times, and you end up with a really interesting product, I think, a lot of the time.
Totally. Yeah, that's exactly it.
That's awesome. So how has your band evolved throughout the music, like your music career together?
Well, I mean, I think we started off just kind of, you know, we wrote like one song off the bat and just kind of jammed on it. And then as the time has gone on, we've kind of been honing in what our sound is. And then we've also added some friends to play with us when they're available. So like the 5 of us are like the core members, but we also have Carly Harvey, who's amazing, and she joins us to sing harmonies. And then we also have another friend, Jessica Samiska, who will come and sing harmonies with us.
Yeah, I've seen them on Instagram.
Yeah. So we love having them join us when they can. And then we've had a couple other friends, and somebody else jump in now.
Yeah, I think when it comes, oh, Nick, were you going to say something? Oh. I think when it comes to the evolution of the band, right, like that's where you want the process to be the most organic, right? Because when it comes from a musical perspective, you really want the music to be as authentic as possible from everybody. So, you know, you write what you're feeling that day, you arrange what you're feeling that day, you maybe we play it on a couple shows, you know, we listen back to the recordings, we say, I don't like that, let's do this instead, and kind of like that's how you sort of develop the sound. And that takes actually quite a long time. Or when it comes to having other professional musicians that we're so grateful to have, like Carly and Jess, as well as like instrumentalists like Joe Herrera,
like honorary members.
What?
They're like honorary members.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Totally.
they're like
Of the
auxiliary members that for like bigger performances or more fun stuff, we can kind of afford to kind of bring them on and arrange for them, which is really really great. And so that's sort of how it evolves. Sort of, I think we're still a young band. I mean, we really started performing. We were writing in 2018. We started
Mhm.
performing like truly in earnest in 2019.
Mhm.
So I think we're still in the process of developing our sound. I mean, the EP that we're coming out with is really, our first full actual EP.
Mhm.
Hopefully we'll actually release in 2021. COVID
I
pro-
cannot.
provided with the difficulties of the past year. But
Right.
so we're still very much in the process of developing our sound, but it's awesome.
What's like the vision for the band? Like, what's the big
World
picture?
domination.
World domination.
World
Exactly.
domination. Yes.
Right? Is that not?
Well, I mean, vision. What do you mean by vision? Like just our future? Like what are we thinking as far as the
Yeah,
future?
like how do you want to see the band to keep growing,
Play
to I guess like
shows or
perform in
something.
world stages, festivals.
I mean, right now we
Easier
pretty-
version of what we have, just writing and playing. I mean,
Keep doing
I
what
think
you're
also
doing.
we finally got like a set of music now. I mean, it takes so long to have a set of music you're proud of that goes for an hour and a half.
Oh
You
my
know,
God,
and
yeah.
that's really the first hurdle you have to get through. And there's so many things to do that, as far as like Jenna said, making it up, rehearsing, playing shows, recording, promoting it. So once you do
Right.
all of that and you finally feel like you have a sound that you're like, this is us, then yeah, you want to perform it as much as possible just so people get that sound in their head. So I mean, I think at least for this year, we have a lot of material that we've recorded that we can get out. And then as far as playing, I mean, we'll probably just use all of this material for that.
Yeah, I think for the vision for the band, I always find that an interesting question, because we all really are here for the music. The most important piece of it is for us to be playing and performing and recording music that we're proud of. Number
Right.
one. Obviously, developing a fan base is also crucial to that.
Right.
But in terms of actual expectations of like how famous might we get and all this, I think all of us have enough experience at this point to sort of have that be a little bit secondary to what the actual music we're doing. So obviously, would it be great to headline 930 Club and sell it out? Of course. Like
Right.
I will
right.
take us up on that any day. Is that the reason that we're doing it? Not
No.
necessarily.
I love that.
So I think it's all about the purpose of why you're doing it, and what we're doing is because we're really proud of this music. What comes out of that remains to be seen. Again, we'll appreciate any wonderful opportunity that comes our way, but at the end of the day, I'm going to be happy playing in this band anywhere. At this point, hopefully when
Anywhere.
performances come back and we can just like play live again. That's where the expectation is right now. But so I'd say the music is number one. It comes first.
For sure.
I
would love to play some festivals for sure. Like I love like going to festivals in general, but playing those, that would be so much fun with this band. So hopefully when the world opens up, that can be.
Yeah, hopefully when the world opens up, we can get in on those.
Yeah.
Right. No, I love that. Like I totally agree with that as a musician myself, where music comes first for me. I understand, like, I guess when some musicians do it like full time, like they're really trying to make it like ASAP, where it's like business first and then music should be there. But I think for a lot of us that are like true musicians, where we just really want to like treat it as art. We're like, music first, make sure it sounds good, and then you just never know what comes out of that. It's sometimes it's out of your control. A song that you might be really into not blow up, and maybe another song
100%. Yeah.
So
And you'll notice that when you're performing it too, you'll think this one is going to be the one everyone remembers. And then the one you think is going to be weird and like no one likes, that's the one people like. So you just get that through experience too. Okay, maybe we'll do another one like this because people ended up dancing to it,
Yeah. Awesome. I love your answers. So this one is a little bit more for me because I'm also a fashionista in the area and like from doing music. Do you think aesthetic or like fashion style is important to your brand's image? And if so, like what is that?
Go Tula, go.
Yeah,
This is all Tula.
Fashionable of all of us.
So much pressure. I mean, of course it's important. Like, you can't go on stage looking like a complete scrub. Well, I mean, I guess you could if that's your aesthetic. That is not our aesthetic. I feel like we're all pretty like casual, but I enjoy like dressing up. I don't personally have like a specific style. Like some days I'm like Miss Flowy hippie, and other days I want to be like a punk rocker. Feel like everybody's kind of like just does their own style, which then collectively brings us together. I don't know. I guess
I see black a lot though. Like I see.
Yeah, but that's kind of the only thing that connects all of our style together. I guess.
Probably
the
wear
color.
black.
Yeah,
I wear.
you know.
I'm trying to get away from that.
Well, black's easy to pull off.
It's so easy,
you know.
It's so hard,
you know. And
or
also,
we're all just like secretly emo, and you know, we just want to wear
we'll
black.
put if we have multiple singers, we'll put all of them in the front. You know, they look, you know.
You're in the shadow, hiding.
Yeah, you know, exactly. Like I don't, you know, like we were doing the lights. I don't like to, you know, be in the front too much.
Yeah, us instrumentalists, we kind of put all that pressure on the singers most of the time, and just say, "You go." And, you know,
that's true. I think also from like not necessarily just like the way we look, but like from like the brand of Knovo and like the artwork and stuff. I think what we've tried to do is be somewhat consistent. So for example, my brother Ete, he's an amazing artist and a musician as well, but we've had him do most of our artwork. So like he did our logo, he's done the single artwork for the 2 singles that we put out, a song called Fake and then the recent one for Dizzy Kong. So there's some like coherence you know, between like the artwork of Knovo as well, which I don't know what that is. Kind of like weird, like graphic-y, kind of trippy, like type stuff.
Yeah. No, it's definitely from the same artist. I mean, if you look online, you can see the pictures for the singles both look cool. I mean, that's maybe more succinct style-wise than like how we look when we play. I don't think, have we ever really had a conversation about what we're wearing tonight?
We did
The
for
the
girls,
Amy Winehouse
girls
too.
too.
Yeah.
So I guess
maybe
the guys do. I don't know.
We both go with the hoops. We're constantly wearing hoops.
We are. We're a hoop wearing band. You're right.
Yeah, we're a hoop wearing band for sure.
There we go. We wear hoops.
Yeah.
The bigger the hoops.
I got the hoops.
There we go.
You can't beat them.
You're ready to join.
The best earring there is.
I love it. Well, that's awesome. I mean, you know, I think your style from like, I guess, a fashion stylist perspective, looking outwards, like outward in, is like you guys are just authentic and you're just you. It's not like you try to be someone else. You try to be a rock band. You try to be this and that. You're like, all right, we're gonna look our best, but it's not like, you know, everybody must look like this. So
yeah, we don't.
Depends on your mood too.
Yeah, it's not.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what are your current projects?
So the current project we're working on is the 5. So it's a 5-song EP. And so we've released 2 of the songs. Fake we had released in January of 2019, and then Dizzy Kong in November
2020.
Oh shoot! Oh my goodness!
Fake released in 2020.
Fake we released in January of 2020.
Oh, yeah.
Dizzy we released in November of 2020. So there are 3 more songs left to release. Due to the nature of performing right now, which is none, we are actually planning on releasing each song with an accompanying video, just sort of to get more traction and more movement online. So that's the big one right now, is to pretty much finish mixing this EP, make the accompanying videos, and sort of have a nice little set of, you know, music, you know, online, so that when we can get back to performing again, people can actually look us up and we can have that full catalog up there. And then there are some other smaller projects as well. Videos for songs that either aren't on the EP or some like live home recording studio kind of things. Is that
virtual collabs.
Yeah. Virtual collabs, exactly.
Yeah, you know, it's been tough. It's been tough for bands generally and us to sort of make the pivot to, you know, the COVID era and adjust to not being able to play live. And we've sort of coincidentally, we had a couple of tracks left to release for the EP, and it was like, well, we might as well, you know, put them out as singles and as videos, just because like online content is like pretty much the only content that you can, you know, only way you can get out music right now.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's sort of by necessity, but sometimes necessity or those sorts of things lead to good content.
Well, it's kind of good because we also, I think all of us too really like to perform live. And I think before, once we recorded the album, it's like we have all of this stuff, but we also have these shows. So it was hard to focus on only content. And I think now that COVID's here, it's like we're like, YouTube personalities or something. We're creating content. Okay, what's our next thing you can click on is really the focus.
We were incredibly lucky that we laid down all the tracks right before COVID.
Oh God.
Yeah.
And we had finished.
True. Yeah.
I remember our last mixing session, right? It was like
it was in March.
It was early March.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had just finished. So we got very lucky that we have all this stuff that we've recorded and had, opportunity to start working on and mixing. Because I mean, had that not happened, I mean,
it would be a mess.
It would.
I guess the lesson is like, do it now. Like, don't do it later. Do it now. You never know what's gonna happen to the world. When can people expect like the next release of like the next song?
The next song. Oh, hopefully within the next couple months.
Okay.
Hopefully, I mean, ideally in a month. But so our producers are up in New York, and we mix virtually with them. So that obviously, mixing
Delays.
virtually slows everything down. But ideally it'd be great if we could do it in a month, but more likely a couple months. I mean,
well, what's hard too is if we're trying to have visuals with the song, you have to mix the song really well, and then you got to figure out a vibe for the video. The vibe for Dizzy Kong was easier because it sounded like a video game. So easy to say, let's make this look like a video game. Right. I think this next one we might be releasing is That's What's Up. It's a song that also has a lot of stuff going on, but it's not necessarily like easy to pinpoint what the video would be. So I think that's kind of the next step. We've been mixing the song virtually already, so that's getting close. But figuring out,
it's gonna be weird. It's gotta be weird, and it's gotta be dark, and it's gotta be like,
I love it. It's gotta be weird.
Right.
It's gonna be, it's a dark song.
It's a dark song.
It's kind of, Tula, you can talk about what that song is about if people
well, the next song, I was having like some vocal issues, like where I felt like maybe I had like nose or something. I didn't. Everything's fine. But I wrote this while I was at the beach, which is like my happy place, but I was in this very dark place. So the song is essentially about just like being like sucked down into the darkness and like losing your voice, and like how are you gonna like live if you can't do that thing that fulfills your soul. So whatever that thing is for everybody, whatever makes your soul happy, if you can't do that, then like, where do you go from there? So that's kind of what the song is about, but it's just like a weird, like heavy kind of rock song, but it also gets kind of funky. So in my head, the video is going to be like trippy and weird. And
I have the same nightmare. I'm like,
really?
I can't
All
sing
singers
one
do.
day.
What
you
will will die.
Because I don't just sing for other people.
You're not going to make it.
Like I sing for myself, like in the shower at home randomly, like things should I just hum, and then what if I can't do that, or if I can't sing in tune anymore?
Oh yeah, that would not be good.
What if something happens and I can't? Anyways,
well, don't worry, there are plenty of singers that do that professionally.
Yes.
So you guys are all from the DMV area, at least right now. What makes the DMV so special?
There's a ton of diversity, both culturally and musically. We all get to play with like really diverse set of musicians from all around the area, and just like the original like DC sound itself is something that's unique and that I've always found appealing. I'm actually not from DC originally. I'm from South Carolina, but like the go-go funk sound of DC is like something that I love, and that like whenever I have friends who come into town from out of town, they're always struck by like, wow, DC has like a total vibe to it. I'm like, yeah, it does. It's awesome.
I love it. Yeah.
And also just world music. Like there's music from everywhere, and you could go down, when 18th Street and Adams Morgan has actually happened, like in non-COVID times, like you could, jump from one place and see like East African musician and go to a blues bar, next door, and like that, you can't do that in every city. So it's something really special.
And it's got a healthy local scene to support that. I mean, maybe not right now, but at least like in 2019, like
in normal times,
in the before times, there's a lot of jazz, there's a lot of blues, there's a lot of funk, there's a lot of go-go.
Brazilian. Healthy Brazilians.
Because also, at least for me, I play bass, so I play in a lot of different groups that play different things. And to perform in DC, you have to kind of know some of those different styles. And it's nice that DC provides that instead of needing to like go all the way, somewhere else to play a style.
Right.
Totally. I feel like it's also a pretty collaborative scene. Like from what I've experienced, like there tends to be kind of a general like love and support for each other. I mean, I'm sure not everybody, but
no, it's a good healthy local scene. Yeah.
Yeah, like everybody like kind of knows and loves each other. Everybody plays with everybody. It's kind of this like big happy family in a certain way.
Yeah, Matt, what do you think?
I mean, I think a lot of people move here and they bring some good culture, So, and it's just people get to mix, and it's a really cool mix. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I moved here. I've lived in LA and New York, so I've gotten like some taste of like the major music scenes there.
The big city music scenes.
Big city music scene, and I feel like your band really encompassed that like DMV music family vibe too. Like just being authentic, like no pressure, like no competitiveness, no ego.
Yeah.
It's just like make good music, be modest, like put your heart and soul out there and see what happens kind of thing. And I feel like that's pretty much the DC music scene or DMV music scene.
I like that.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I approach it too as a DMV musician. And that's why I really started music here. I didn't really start being a Foley musician in other places because I feel like I can breathe and like be myself here and be supported and not feel like, oh my God, like I have to have this many followers and I have to do this many shows and I have to be this person to like compete.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, it can be hard in LA and New York. For sure.
Yeah.
DC is a little more open to a startup group doing something new that's like totally out of the ordinary, and you don't need some guy that's like been in the scene for like 400 years to support it.
Although I will say there's a lot of collab between Philly, DC, and New York. Like a lot of musicians are constantly like we play with a lot of musicians that are either in New York or in Philly or so because the cities are so close.
Yeah.
That's one of the benefits I think of working on the East Coast here is that you have, three pretty powerful music hubs.
And Baltimore too.
And Baltimore. Baltimore is awesome. It's awesome music in Baltimore.
Yeah.
I'm loving the shout outs. All right. Well, that kind of concludes today's episode. Thank you all again for joining us. We love learning about you guys. Do you want to let us know like where we can find you and support your music?
Yep. You can find us on all social media at Knovo Music. So it's KNOVO Music. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Bandcamp, all those other things. So yeah, you can find us there. Hopefully we'll continue uploading content until we can get out into the world again.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, and hope you guys have a great year of music making.
Same to you. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Every movement, a controller in my hands. I jump up and down. Cause I'ma dig deep, I'ma stand tall. I got the grit of the